do have a question for the passport bros. When are y'all gonna take charge and lead your own movement? Like instead of sitting on this app gaslighting every fucking body, when are y'all just gonna leave? Like y'all can't even lead yourselves out of the countries, but y'all wanna lead the families. I'm hella confused on what's happening here. When are y'all actually going?
All right. So first off, forgive the quality of this video. This is actually an older video that I shot off of an older iPhone and whatnot. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I was shooting live, so the video quality was limited to 720p. But basically, the reason why I'm making this video is because basically I just wanted to talk about a situation that recently happened in the Passport Bros community. Now, as you probably already know, there was brother Austin Holloman who made a video that gained a lot of traction on the internet where he claimed that he was sent death threats by some feminist in Brazil who I believe was angry at the fact that he had made a video where he was talking to a woman. He was interviewing a woman. And he made a video with her, and then supposedly some feminist got upset with him, and she sent him a threat that said she hoped that somebody killed him or put a bullet in his head and this, that, and the other. Now, first of all, that's not, in my opinion, a death threat. That's actually a death wish. There's a lot of people out there who will wish you dead. But the thing about it is, unless they're prepared to come and carry out that death wish on you in person, that's not really a death threat, in my opinion. That's actually a death wish. Yeah, I get death wishes all the time. But the thing about it is, the hammer on this Desert Eagle stays cocked. So, for the most part, I'm still here to make these videos many, many, many years later. The hammer on this Desert Eagle stays cocked. The bolt carrier on this AR-15 stays cocked. So thus far, I haven't had much problem with death threats. I mean, you get wishes from certain people, these weaklings, especially these pathetic fucking feminists. But you get these threats. You get wishes, you get threats. It's a mixture. But thus far, it's like nobody makes do on any of this stuff. Because when it comes down to it, nobody is willing to basically be put down on a public highway or out in public because they thought that they were speaking louder than you were, if you get my drift. So I'll just leave it at that. But that said, with that situation, Passport Bros leaving a toxic environment have to be careful about the environments they go to, because you got to remember, a lot of these other environments have been polluted and poisoned too. For example, he didn't get this threat from a man. He got this threat from one of these pathetic feminists. These pathetic strags are global. America, with its nonsense, has basically polluted the entire planet, and these people are everywhere. Now, fortunately, in some countries, like the weeds that they can't grow. Like, for example, you're not going to have any problem with any feminists if you go to an Arab country like Dubai or an Islamic state, like if you go to, say, Maldives, or if you go to Indonesia. You're not going to have any problem with liberal feminism. I can promise you that. And you know why. And the very simple reason why is because there's plenty of bricks and there's plenty of stones that are available at any given time to ensure that you don't have these problems overseas. I'm just going to leave it at that. Now, in certain countries, there are far fewer, how should I say, safeguards against this type of radicalism. And you have to be careful because these people exist out there, and these people will make errant threats. Most of them will never be carried out. But when you talk about in some countries where you got cartels and you got like drug dealing going on, and you've got issues where there's obviously clear and present violence on a whole nother level. Yeah, those are kind of the places that you shouldn't go to. For example, I've said this many, many, many times. I prefer to travel to countries with totalitarian rule from their governments. The reason why is because I know as a tourist that I'm 100% safe. For example, when I lived in China, I was never worried about going out at night. I was never worried about going to an ATM at 1 or 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I was never worried even about the Chinese police. First of all, the Chinese police don't carry guns. The only ones who did are the military police, and they're usually stationed in front of military facilities, which I didn't go near or I didn't go around. When I was in South Korea, the only time I even saw a gun was in the airport, and it was a airport police soldier. He was walking. He had like 2 or 3 people next to him. They were other armed police, and they're carrying around MP5s. MP5s are a submachine gun. And for the most part, the regular police that I saw in South Korea, none of them had guns. I've also told this story numerous times about DR. I went to DR. I was standing on the street. I had my iPhone 4S. I was taking photos. It was brand new iPhone. And suddenly I got these two police officers. Now, these were regular police officers. And they walked right up to me and they stood next to me. One of them had an AK 47 and the other one had a pump action shotgun. They just walked right up to me and they took either side of me and just stood right next to me. Now, at first, I was, a little taken aback because the average American doesn't see someone carrying weapons like that, long guns. They don't usually see that on a regular basis. But it immediately occurred to me the reason why they were standing there was just in case somebody tried to take my phone from me. So just think about that. In a lot of these countries, especially these countries that thrive on tourism, you trying to snatch a phone from a tourist would get a bullet in your back or shotgun pellets all up in your face because you wanted that iPhone 4S so much that you got this military cop or this militiaman or whatever it is standing there protecting a tourist, and you trying to snatch their phone so you could sell it for some bread or fruit or whatever. Just trying to snatch their phone means that you're going to get a bullet in your back. There are some countries that don't tolerate this type of radicalism. There are some countries that don't tolerate this type of insanity. China, for example, is one of them. Like Peyton Gendron, I believe his name was, who rolled up into that Buffalo supermarket and shot up those black people, those unarmed black people. If this was China, he would have had a 2-hour trial, been found guilty, and right now his kidneys would be on sale to some organ recipient. His eyes, the lenses in your eyes can be transplanted. His pancreas, his bladder, anything that could be used. Peyton Gendron would have been reduced to car parts in a used car lot. He would have been reduced to car parts by now. Jared Loughner, another mass murderer. What was this other guy's name? Dylan Roof, shooting up unarmed. Now keep in mind, these people are all unarmed. Unarmed people in a movie theater watching Batman, The Dark Knight Rises. Unarmed people. Unarmed churchgoers. Unarmed grocery shopper. But when I think about myself, the hammer on this Desert Eagle stays cocked. Do you understand what I'm saying? The hammer on this Desert Eagle stays cocked. The hammer on the Kimber 45 stays cocked. The hammer and the bolt carrier on the AR-15 stays cocked. But meanwhile, all these unarmed people out there getting wasted. I just find that unacceptable. So that said, a lot of these countries especially if you're going abroad to date, especially if you're a passport bro. When you go overseas, you're going to be unarmed. But in my opinion, my armament is the government itself, because those governments practice complete and totalitarian control. Those governments practice 100% totalitarian control. For example, like, you don't even see garbage on the street because the people know goddamn well you better not throw nothing on this fucking street. You better not. I've seen the railways in Dubai, the railways in China, the railways in South Korea, the railways in most of these countries, not a drop of trash on them. And I've had pictures, I've taken video, taken pictures. They were the clean. You could eat off the floor. You could drop something on the floor and you could eat off the floor. That's how clean they were, because people weren't gonna damage that property because there's cameras everywhere for one, and there's strict and stiff penalties for two. So why do I say all that? If you're a passport bro and you go overseas, you have to watch out for your own safety and security. First thing you should do is if you're going to stay in one of these countries for a length of time, is register with the State Department. That's number one. The State Department should know where you are. I don't normally think that you should be telling any and everybody exactly where you are, with the exception of maybe the State Department of your country, the consulate, not really the embassy. The embassy handles more diplomatic procedures, but the consulate, based on the State Department, you register through them, you let them know where you are, you let them know where you plan on going, because you never know. It might not even be somebody attacking you or assaulting you. It might be a simple car accident. It might be something as simple as you go hiking and get lost. Yeah, the State Department, you should always contact the State Department, let them know where you are. You should also let them know if you have any medical needs or if you have any medical problems. As far as living in foreign countries, especially if you're dating in a foreign country, you have to keep in mind, whoever you're dating, chances are they may have an ex, they may have somebody who's a secret admirer. And the problem is, it's something that nobody really likes to talk about, but the problem is they may be jealous of you. And jealousy can lead people to do extreme things, even when you're in a situation where you have a totalitarian government that will strictly punish and swiftly punish people for doing anything, especially to a tourist. You have to understand, there's some people who have ex-husbands, there's some people who have ex-boyfriends, there's some people who have secret admirers, there's some people who have secret lovers, whatever it is, before you, during you, whatever. The bottom line is, these people may exist. So you should always be focused on maintaining your security. I rent or use or borrow or own condos in the countries I go to. When I was in China, I had an apartment, Guoding Road, right down the block from Fudan University. When I was in Philippines, I had a condo. When I go to certain other countries, whatever, I always have a residential stay. Now, one of the stipulations that I have is, especially if it's a country where they have guards and armed guards, or if they have gated residents, well, those are one of my stipulations. You can't just come to see me unless I'm expecting you. In the Philippines, and that's where this video is from specifically, the condo that I stay at has armed guards. One of them, I'm not going to name names. One of them had a 45 1911. Another one had a pump action shotgun. Another one had a long gun, AK style long gun. I'll just say AK style. It wasn't an AR style. It wasn't like an Armalite. Bottom line is, these guys were at every single entrance, and this place had like 4 or 5 major entrances. They're at every single entrance. If you're not on the book, you're not getting in. If somebody comes to visit you, they call you from the gate to come see the person, and then you have to sign them in. My girlfriend, for example, She couldn't come to see me until I signed her in. It pretty much works like that at the hotels too. So just in case anybody there's like a surprise visitor or something, you're not getting past that gate. Now, if you try to rush the gate or you try to get past the gate, well, guess what? They're going to empty that clip on you. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not playing no games with these people. I'm not playing no games with anybody. So the bottom line is you ain't getting past that gate. You just ain't getting past that gate. If you want to test those guards and try to get past that gate, yeah, well, those guards are going to need to buy more ammo. Just keep it nice and simple. Nobody's playing games with you. Now, as far as this death wishes coming from these pathetic feminist strags, the issue is in certain places, yeah, that might be a concern. And, usually it's not really the feminists that are the problem because you usually see them in journalism and they're reviewing and critiquing rather than actively participating or being live on the scene. So what I mean by that is they're only able to be after the fact evidence critiquers. Now, part of that is because when you travel, and this is something I kind of have a problem with the passport bros for doing, but I'm not policing you. I'm just saying it's something that I think you'd agree with me you shouldn't be doing. Going live is kind of not a good idea. You should never be letting people know exactly where you are. That's number one. If they, have any idea about what area you are in or where you are, it should be long after you're gone. Like, for example, when I'm in certain countries, I absolutely don't go live. I'll make a video, I'll finalize the video, and then I'll post it maybe a day or two later. So this way, by the time you could possibly come see me, I ain't even there no more. I would never show exactly where I am at any given time, ever. Yeah, I don't even care if there's armed guards. It's like, you don't need to know where I am. The only people who know exactly where I am are direct messages to my family at home or the State Department. That is fair enough. But the problem that you're going to ultimately have, especially when you're making these videos, and it's funny because I was on one of these YouTube, I hate to call it a channel, it's a struggle channel. Less than 2,000 people are subscribed, and I'm arguing with a bunch of idiots specifically about the Austin Holloman situation. And my simple argument was, if you're on a public beach and other people are allowed to record and use their phones, there's nothing wrong with you recording on a public property. There's nothing wrong at all. Now, when you do like I do and you travel to certain places like Seychelles, Maldives, or even Bora Bora, and you go to maybe a private beach, then you may have a problem with recording. For example, and this is a perfect example, if you watch my video that I made about business class flying Emirates to go to Maldives, one thing you'll notice is you don't see very much about the people I was with. I purposefully edited all of them out of that video. Now, I have my own private video clips. The bikinis, the toplessness. You're not going to see any of that in my video. You're not going to see any of that. So the only beach edited video that you got from me basically just shows public beaches and daytime conditions. And it's funny because nobody questioned me about that. I tried to make the video look as good as I could. But when it came to like me and the woman I was with and the beaches we were at and the bungalows, as much as I wanted to take pictures of the bungalows, here's the problem. Seneva, they had a thing where like, as soon as you get off the plane, they take your shoes from you because they call it shoeless luxury, right? So as soon as you get off that plane, they take your shoes from you and you can walk around the whole place barefoot. It's barefoot luxury, right? Now, There were husband and wife couples. There really weren't many boyfriend girlfriends. There was husband and wife couples. There were families. And so YouTube could not censor any of my video, what I did was I cut pretty much everybody out. So there's no children in it because YouTube has a problem with that. If you have children in the video, some of the beach areas were private, like because there were women there walking around. Man, you wouldn't believe maybe you've seen a topless beach, but there were women no tops on. And the thing about it is, the last thing I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to get accused of videotaping out here or voyeurism or anything, public voyeurism. So I edited all of that out. And all of that, 100% of it. My video is like, what, 4 hours long? Maybe 3 hours, 50 minutes. I can't remember off the top of my head. I edited all of that out. But if you were to see the original video that's not edited, you would see all of that. For example, one thing you'll notice is the chick that I was with in the Philippines, I never put her on the video camera. I didn't want nobody to know who she was. Now, I may have put the back of her, like if you look at my video where we went to Thailand, you'd see her back, but you never see her face. You saw maybe parts of her body, but you never saw her face. So this way, nobody knows who's who. No, like, and that's another thing. I've noticed a lot of people feel it necessary to put their families on YouTube there's some people, the self-professed millionaires and everything, and they post everything on YouTube. They call it transparency. As far as I'm concerned, you don't have to be that transparent. If people believe you, okay. If people don't believe you, fuck them. It's like you shouldn't show your family on freaking YouTube. I don't do that. If you see my family members, you'll see the back of them. You won't see their face. You might hear their voice. You might not. I edit all that shit out, or I make sure that you don't see it. So the bottom line is, if you were to meet one of my people in real life, you would have no idea who they were because, you wouldn't know that they were connected to me. You don't see my face in these videos, and that's purposefully done. The only time maybe I'll put myself in videos is if I have glasses on or a face mask or something like that. Because the reality is you're dealing with like a new level of like fascism. These feminists, especially somebody who would be so bold. See, honestly, I wish I was Austin Holloman, and I wish somebody would send me a fucking death wish. I wish they would. Because I'm just stupid enough to tell them where they could come meet me. I'm just that stupid. And it would get real ugly from that point on. So it's actually better to avoid those situations because, you probably, chances are, you have more to lose than they do. These are nobody. You got to understand, there's a difference between being a somebody and a nobody. The nobodies are punching up. There's almost no point in punching down. Like, I was on the Peso Man's channel yesterday. I'll just say it. And there's a bunch of losers on the channel. Like, there's one old grandma with like 5 subscribers. There's one dude who claims that everybody's got DJ in front of their name. Fucking amateurs. Dude's got like 140 subs. Now, when I looked at the YouTube data, it said that he had 99, and then it said he had 3 on a different channel. So basically, he had 2 failing channels. 2 failing channels. And when I questioned him on it, I said, yeah, you only got like 103 subscribers. He called me a liar and said, no, I don't have 103. I have 145. And I'm like, are you seriously calling me a liar for pointing out the fact that nobody pays any attention to you whatsoever? I was like, come on, really? Then there was this fat-faced nerd motherfucker named Andre or something. And this dude was trying to go to my Social Blade and insult. Now, the dude sees, even according to Social Blade, which is not always 100% accurate, dude sees that I have almost 50 million views. And you can kind of see that my subscribership has been going up since I started with Passport Bros content. And Social Blade isn't accurate about money. And the reason why is because they can't count your cash apps. They can't count certain aspects of your channel where you're making money. They can only count what they think you're making off of views and clicks. Bottom line is, this dude's attacking this, but he has no channel at all. And I'm like, you're attacking me for defending Austin Holloman when Austin Holloman has a successful growing channel up to this point. He has a successful growing channel. You're attacking me for defending him, but you have nothing at all. And they were so desperate to take me down, and it just went. I went into overdrive making fun of them, but they were so desperate to take me down that it was like, I was like, you know what? You guys are fucking clowns and you dumb and you ain't got nothing to show for being dumb and fucking clowns. So I was like, you know what? Listen, I already know I'm going to get kicked. But if I'm going to get kicked, I'm going to get kicked on my own accord. So when I tell you go fuck yourself, if that's the signal that you're going to use to kick me, fine. But I'm going to get kicked on my own accord, punching you down. So anyway, you're always going to have haters. There's nothing you can do about that. I've heard before that if you're doing something and people are watching you and they see what you're doing, you're always going to have somebody hating on you. There's always going to be a critic. Fortunately, some people you'll get some love, but there's always going to be critics. It's just like any celebrity because, and that's basically what's happening. The internet is turning regular people, the vloggers, the bloggers, the internet is turning regular people into celebrities. I consider myself a regular person. But the thing about it is when you go into public and people are recognizing you based on stuff that they see on the internet, like sometimes I've been in public places and I've heard people playing my videos. And and when I think about that, it's like, could you imagine like how a real celebrity like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Tom Cruise feels like if they're in public and nobody recognizes them because they have like a disguise on and they're in public and they hear people or see people watching their movies or playing. Like that's an interesting feeling. It's a very exhilarating feeling. But you also have to understand, even if you're a regular passport bro, you're kind of like an ambassador for the brand for one, and then you're technically kind of like a celebrity, especially if you're a vlogger and a passport bro. These people overseas, some of them who may follow you are anxious to meet you. Some of them have only positive intent, but there are some of them that have negative intent. Like I've seen a few years ago, there have been YouTubers who've gone to these violent ass countries. And again, one of the reasons why you don't see me anxious to go to South America is South America is not in control. And a lot of their governments are crumbling right now. Like, for instance, they just recently, at Argentina, I wanted to go on a trip to Argentina. I wanted to be able to take the boat ride across the water to Uruguay. And I wanted to go to Montevideo and I wanted to go to Buenos Aires. In Argentina, somebody tried to blow the vice president, and this is a woman. They have him on videotape trying to blow her head off. And that reminded me of Benazir Bhutto, how she's in public and somebody detonates a bomb and killed her. And the thing about it is, there's some of these countries with, they're having, especially post-COVID, they're having political upheaval right now. And that's what's happening in Brazil. They have a government with half the people pointing and saying it's corrupt, half the people pointing and saying it's racist. And the thing about it is, Brazil, to me, ain't stable enough for me to want to go there. Like, Brazil might be one of the last places on my list. Dominican Republic, I enjoyed being in Dominican Republic, but the reality is, sometimes tourists have problems there. Like, for instance, we had a rash of tourist deaths in Dominican Republic, which they claim was due to alcohol or something. And as far as I know, that hasn't really been solved, but they claimed it was due to alcohol or alcohol poisoning. And in Mexico, there was recently a gun battle with the cartel, and the tourists are running and fleeing and hiding while they're having a gun battle out there. So it's like there's certain countries, and it's funny because I had people ask me, hey, would you like to take a trip to Costa Rica? And I'm like, no. I mean, you got to understand, I was born in the 80s. My entire mentality revolving around South America and Central America is based in the 80s. The only thing I know about South America is the movie Predator, the movie Clear and Present Danger with Harrison Ford. It's like, I'm an 80s baby. It's like, those are places I ain't going. Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to get kidnapped by some narco terrorists and they're going to demand my family send the money. And now, granted, listen, there's plenty of passport bros going down there and they're having a great time and everything. I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it. It's like, if I can avoid it, I'm avoiding it. Now, as far as South Asia, oh, I love South Asia. I love Southeast Asia. I walked into South Korea with not a care in the world about my safety. I really absolutely felt safe. Japan. I went into Japan, Tokyo, Shinjuku-ku, Ichibara. Not a thought in the world about my safety. I walked into China, and this was after seeing that Richard Gere movie, Red Corner. And I was like, you know what? As long as I don't have any drugs, and as long as I don't have any guns, and as long as I don't do any prostitution, which I never would do, never. But I was like, you know what? I won't have any problem. And sure enough, I liked China so much that I actually returned there. And I was like, yeah, I like being here. This is fun. The downside of China, however, was the pollution. And this was before COVID that I was there, because I was living there as a student. And the pollution is really bad. Like, as soon as I stepped off the plane, I could smell burning of coal and sulfur on a level that I'd never experienced it. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I would never want to actually live there. But I have to say, as far as the safety and security goes, that place was as safe and secure as they come. Just don't do anything stupid, and the government's not going to fuck with you. As far as Philippines, Philippines has its issue with poverty, because one of the issues I did have with being in the Philippines is you get solicited for money a lot. When kids would come up, like these kids would come up to me, I'm a stranger, and these kids come up to me trying to beg for money to go into the store and this, that, and other. It was like, I don't like handing out money, so I pretend that, listen, all I got is a credit card, but I'll tell you what, I'll take you into the store and I'll buy you some food. And I think, that leaves them with a good impression of you, despite the fact that they know you're not a sucker who's just going to, just hand them over money and this, that, and other. I do everything on credit card. It's like, this way, listen, somebody could try to jack me and steal money from me, but that hasn't happened. I'm just saying, if it did, the only thing you're going to get is some plastic. You're going to get some plastic credit cards that you can't use. Because by the time you do manage to take it to a store to use it, I'll have deactivated that shit on my phone. I'm also a fan of all of these new terminals where you could just pay by phone, or you could pay by your Apple Watch. So you could use your Apple Watch Ultra and you could pay just using your wrist. You don't even have to have your phone on you. So, yeah, I mean, my thing is, it's like, you just have to be careful. You should be looking out for your residents. See, a lot of these passport bros, they'll live right with the people. In some countries, that's cool, where you can live right with the people and you don't have to worry about nothing. You can live the same way they live, and you can live in the same residences and areas they live in. Yeah, in some countries, that's cool. But Brazil ain't one of those places. I'm sorry. They have bulletproof cars to make sure that people aren't shooting through the goddamn cars. I had heard that if you go to certain parts of Rio, you go to the banks have like revolving doors with bulletproof glass, and they lock if the bank locks you inside. And if they think you have a weapon, you have to take the weapon and you have to put it into a safety deposit bin before they'll let you out. And I'm like, nah, man, I ain't doing that. Listen, if you got that many problems where y'all need to have bulletproof cars, it's like, nah, that's someplace I just ain't going. I ain't interested. I could do better. But yeah, I mean, the thing about it is, this was a long time coming, because see, the problem is, you've got it coming from multiple angles. You got these angry ass domestic strags here trying to paint you as predators and trying to paint you as traffickers and this, that, and other. First of all, if you go abroad and you get married and you bring that woman back here, that ain't trafficking. All of that's 100% legal. It's 100% legal to use the K-1 visa process that the American government has. It's 100% legal to use the spousal adjustment visa process. Those are 100% legal. But these pathetic strags, these 400-pound Aunt Jemimas, they want to call you a trafficker. They want to paint you as a predator. They want to call you names and this, that, and other because they're mad that they can't get a man, and they're mad that even their Plan Bs don't want them. So now they're down to Plan C. Plan C doesn't want them either. So they're mad. And they feel threatened, which I've pointed out before. They have every reason to feel threatened. Nobody wants them. They ain't got enough money to pay their rent. They ain't got enough money to pay their mortgage. And they're looking for Plan B. Now they're looking for Plan C. Plan B, Plan C don't want them. Plan B, Plan C getting their passports and leaving. So they pissed off. Not only that, a lot of them are single moms. They're looking for a cleanup bro stepfather, cleanup bros. They're looking for as many cleanup bros as they can find. Cleanup bros don't want them. And they're not getting it. And it's just that simple. They're not getting it. So they mad. These self-proclaimed feminists and these, they're just mad. They're pathetic. Nobody wants them, and that's it. The studies show by, 2030, 45% of these women are going to be single and childless. In order to make sure that as a man, you're not counted in those statistics, all you got to do is spend your $200 shipping and handling, get your passport, get the hell out of here, out of this toxic environment, try to avoid other toxic environments, and you go find love somewhere else. You don't need these people. What are they doing for you? What are they doing for you besides poisoning you? What are they doing? Nothing. Nothing at all. And you know it. The mere fact that this guy, Austin Holloman, the mere fact that he could go overseas and get threatened by, or death wish by some feminist strag, and see, I ain't afraid to talk about it, because the thing about it is she ain't coming here. She ain't coming here. She ain't coming here. So I can say whatever I want. See, that's the beauty about America. See, a lot of people don't seem to understand. The First Amendment, Congress shall make no law to stop your free speech or your freedom of expression. That's the First Amendment. But what a lot of people don't understand, a lot of people don't want to talk about, is you also got the Second Amendment. You know why you got the Second Amendment? You got the Second Amendment so you can protect the First Amendment. See, all the amendments are in order. All of them are in order of importance. And as I said before, and enough of you know me, she ain't coming here. So I'll call her strag. I'll call her pathetic, a loser, a lamer. She's more of a lamer than what these women are saying about the passport bros. And I'll say all that and not have to worry about a thing. Because guess what, lady? You ain't coming here. You ain't coming here. Do you hear my voice? You ain't coming here. I'm not going there because, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not interested in being in your country. If I wanted to be in your country, I'd go there. But the bottom line is, whatever I say, I don't give a shit what the laws in your country say about free speech. You ain't coming here because I got something right here that says you ain't coming. It's just that simple. Second Amendment protects you first. And people need to remember that. They need to understand that. The Second Amendment protects your First Amendment. Because without the Second Amendment, you can't protect your First Amendment. You just can't. But when you got that Second Amendment, your First Amendment gets protected. It's just that simple. But that ends in war. War means we are right. It means that you have convictions and you have expression and you're willing to fight for it. That is where war comes from. So right now, the passport bros are the latest development of a gender war. And that war has continued. Kevin Samuels, they thought when Kevin Samuels died, they thought that was the end of it. Kevin Samuels goes, passport bros rose up. In addition to that, you've got these other gender wars going on out there. But the bottom line is the Passport Bros is the most pronounced because it's on videotape, for one, and it's on YouTube. It's all over YouTube. The algorithm favors it because it has to do with travel. And the thing about it is the Brazilian government, I have to say, they didn't evict Austin Holloman. They didn't expel him. Like some of these idiots, some of these idiot feminists, you know who you are, talking all this smack. Oh, yeah, they're getting kicked out the country. The Brazilian government didn't kick nobody out of there because as far as, like, I can see, there was no law violated. All that happened was some pathetic feminist drag got mad and sent out some death wish. But the Brazilian government didn't kick nobody out. First of all, one of the things that people need to understand is prostitution's legal in Brazil. It's on the books as legal in Brazil. What's not legal is organized sex work. That's what's not legal. Now, I have never solicited prostitution. I have never sought to go to countries where it was legal. I've seen it in some countries, but I stayed away from it. I'm not interested in getting no STDs from nobody. I ain't interested in that. Here in America, the STD rate's out of control. It's like I saw a recent heat map, if you want to call it a heat map, of chlamydia. Man, that shit's out of control. They don't talk about AIDS anymore because it angers some people. They don't want to talk about AIDS no more. So as far as they're concerned, everybody dies of cancer, quote unquote cancer. There's no more AIDS anymore. We don't say AIDS anymore. Either you die of COVID or you die of cancer, and that's it. There's no more. AIDS stopped existing somewhere around 2020. AIDS ceased to exist. But the transmission rates, you know, for the actual scientists who still bother to measure things and don't mind speaking freely, the transmission rates are up in certain places. So nah, man, it's like I came to your country, I bring my luggage, and that's all I'm bringing, and that's all I plan on leaving with. I don't plan on leaving with nothing else. Okay, if you get my drift, because I have, you know, it's sad you got to kind of speak in codes. But yeah, I mean, these people out of their goddamn mind. These people crazy. Bottom line is, the strag ain't coming here. She ain't coming here. Guaranteed she ain't coming here. Because I got something for her that'll redo her hairstyle. You know that hairstyle that probably is fake? Probably got that fake, what is it called? A wig? Well, I'll redo your hairstyle. I'll redo your hairstyle in a way where you can't get your hairstyle redone, if you get my drift. So nah, I ain't playing that game. But fortunately, I've never had to deal with that because you know, another thing, if you're a passport bro, you really need to move in silence as much as possible. Now, listen, what I've noticed is, and you've probably noticed this, a lot of times when you get these dudes who go overseas and they're doing a lot of voyeurism videos and stuff like that, especially if they're doing it legally. But, you know, if you're doing it legally, it's not a problem. So you never have to worry about blowback against your passport or your visas. But one of the things I've noticed is most of these dudes, they'll take lots and lots and lots of video. They'll bring it back to their home country. And at that point, that's when they'll post it. So this way, they never have to worry about any angry strags. They never have to worry about anybody coming after them because, hey, there ain't nothing you can do about it. I'm 9,000 miles away. What are you going to do about it? You know, what are you going to do about it? So you could be as angry as you want. You could talk. But see, I think the saddest thing about it is the fact that not only do you face the backlash abroad in some cases, but you face the backlash here, domestically. Now, once again, on home soil, where you got your Second Amendment, you ain't really got to worry about too many of these people. Because for the most part, especially these loud-ass feminists, they can't do shit except hit the comment button and then hit the post comment button. That's all they can really do. They can talk as much shit as they want. There ain't nothing they can do about it. Because you have a right to your words. You have a right to your expression. There ain't nothing they can do about that. You got to, the Constitution is the shit, man. I love the Constitution. I love it. Constitution's awesome. Everything has its flaws, but the Constitution's awesome. Because my constitutional amendments, My constitutional amendments are always lying in wait for the person who wants to take them away. So all that said, my bottom line is passport bros, you got to operate, especially after you're seeing this situation right here. And some of you have seen similar situations because some of y'all, especially you dudes who keep going to Brazil and Colombia and Mexico and shit, some of y'all have shared stories about being harassed by the police and robbed and shit. Some of y'all have expressed those stories. I don't deal with that. It's like when I go to a country, I go to a country where the government is in such control that the police themselves wouldn't dare try to extort you. They wouldn't dare try to extort you because their own government would put them down. And when I say put them down, I mean, have you ever gone to a junkyard and you're looking for spare parts for something? I have an uncle right now. He's older. He needs some kidneys. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I don't play those games. I go to places where the government is just notorious for totalitarian rule. I ain't playing those games. But this whole nonsense where you got people out there running around with loose weapons and everything and threatening tourists and robbing people and kidnapping people, nah, I ain't dealing with that. I ain't dealing with that at all. It's like you can keep those countries. Those will be the one country I don't need a passport stamp for. But the other places where the governments understand, listen, tourism is our lifeblood. We need to protect these people. We need to make sure everything is on the up and up. Those are the countries I go to because this other nonsense like Nicaragua and Costa Rica and Brazil and Mexico, nah, you can keep all that. You can keep all that. You can hold that. Hold that. I ain't interested. But that's basically that. I mean, that's all I really had to say because it's funny. Everybody is responding to this situation. Everybody's making response videos. I felt I needed to make a response video, so I made my response video right then and there.
Absolutely, I do.
Okay, we
Um,
want to hear it.
and I should say this too. I just want to preface this. I'm a world traveler, so I got a real problem with the passport brothers. A real problem. Waiting for TLA to show up, and then they realizing TLA ain't showing up. And then they end up with what they call an average guy who in their mind is temporary. And they treat him and behave with him as if he's temporary. These women are not incapable of cooking. They're not incapable of doing all the things it would take to keep a TLA. They're not incapable. They refuse. They don't want to because they don't think the man is worthy. That's the truth.
Gotcha.
But what happens is because they start hearing, and this is the issue. This is how passport bros come in. The issue is when men start singing, they start singing. The singing needs to stop. It really does. Because the singing is irritating. And I'm married, but I'm irritated by the singing. And when I say singing, I'm talking about, ooh, I found paradise. You black women suck.
So just think about that for a
suck.
second. These strags are angry about the fact that you are singing. You're a passport bro and you are singing. They don't want you singing. Think about that, what they said. Maya Angelou had a book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. The caged bird is you on the plantation, and they don't want you singing. Think about that. That's your free speech. Amendment 1. They don't want you being able to sing. You see this right here? When you in a foreign country and this right here is beckoning you to come back to her room, she want you to come in there and sing. She gonna make you sing to her. But these strags don't want you singing. Gentlemen, how are you gonna handle this situation where she calls you back to her room and she wants you to come in there and sing? And she gonna make you sing. How are you gonna handle this?
To be